This first inductee to the class of 2005 is the first of two Oregon athletes who were called the world's greatest. On a rainy spring day in Gresham in 1984, young Dan O'Brien showed the promise of greatness to come. O'Brien splashed his way to 4 individual championships for Henley High School at the state meet, and a decathlete was born. But it would not be until after his college days that the future world's greatest athlete began to deliver on that promise of greatness. O'Brien emerged on the world scene, setting the American record in 1991, then backed it up with his first world championship.
Dan O'Brien captured gold medals.
For the 1992 Olympic trials, O'Brien has reached his prime and was ready to jump, run, and throw for the gold. His chief competition, fellow Oregonian Dave Johnson. The multi-million-dollar hype of the Dan and Dave show came to a crashing end with Dan's no height in the pole vault at the trial.
He fails to clear, and having passed at several earlier, easier heights, he has no heighted. He gets no points. It looks like he almost certainly will not qualify.
That would follow the greatest test of Dan O'Brien's character and perseverance. After sitting out the Barcelona Games, O'Brien traveled to France and reset the world record, defeating the Olympic champion. Dan's Olympic dreams would not go unfulfilled. He executed a perfect 4-year plan to win his gold medal in Atlanta.
That's an outstanding performance for Dan O'Brien.
And along the way, O'Brien was undefeated, taking 4 more USA titles and 2 more world championships. The gold medal might have been a crowning finish to his career, but O'Brien has continued to make competitive comebacks, as well as building new careers as a coach and a commentator. 10 events in 2 days. Dan O'Brien has redefined the definition of decathlete as the world's greatest athlete. Ladies and gentlemen, would you welcome Mr. Dan O'Brien right here. Have a seat, young man, and we'll talk. All right, what got you into track and field and what you finally accomplished?
You know, I got into track and field because I think it was the first race I ever ran I won. I was in the 5th grade. I went to a high school football game in Merrill, Oregon, and entered a 1-mile fun run for kids my age group. And I took off running, and before you knew it, I was in front, and I out-sprinted a guy to the finish line. Imagine that. The 1 mile was my first experience in track and field. But I participated in track just because I just wanted to hang out with my friends. And I remember running cross country, and one day I got in from a nice long 4-mile run and sprinted to the finish line, and the coach said, maybe tomorrow you should run with the sprinters. And you know, I didn't run too many miles after that.
All right, Jackie Joyner Kersey, Bruce Jenner, people like that influenced you, did they not?
Absolutely. I got into the multi-events. I'll never forget after I had a chance to meet Jackie Joyner in 1988 at the Olympic trials, where I was injured. But by meeting her, I regained just new respect for the event. I thought Jackie Joyner has made the multi-events very valid, and I dedicated myself at that particular time to becoming what I thought at that time was the next Bruce Jenner.
The Dan and Dave show. Your version of all of that?
Well, it was exciting. You know, I really have to look back on those times as you know, the highlight for the decathlon in the United States. We made a resurgence. That we hadn't had a champion since Bruce Jenner in 1976, and I think there's never been more hype in the decathlon, you know, up until that point. I think Dave and I, what we did to decathlon, we just gave it new interest. Everything we did was really fun. I mean, it was hard work. A lot of people say, oh, it must have been so much fun. You know, we woke up at 5 a.m. for 2 weeks in a row, you know, when we were shooting those commercials, and we really worked hard, but we had a good time. We developed a really good friendship, and you know, I can honestly say that because we spent all the time doing the commercials, that wasn't the reason that I didn't make the height in the pole vault. So.
Your Olympic experiences.
You know, my Olympic experience went like this. In 1996, I got to Atlanta a couple of weeks before I participated, and I was seeing other people do their thing. I'm good friends with Amy Van Dyken and Dominique Moceanu. I got to see them perform, and I couldn't wait for it to be my turn. And then when I actually got out on the field and was doing it myself, it was so stressful, I couldn't wait for it to be over. And then when it was over and I had won, I couldn't wait to do it again. So I couldn't really make up my mind. There's no bigger stress in any sporting event that I know of than the Olympic Games. So stressful because so many eyes are on you. And especially for me in 1996, to deal with all that pressure from not having made the team in 92, there was an enormous amount of stress. So when it was over, it wasn't so much a thrill of victory. Wow, you know, I really did it. It was just like, phew, I'm glad that went just the way I wanted it to go.
Dan, stand, please.
All right, thank you.
All right. No, wait a minute. Dan O'Brien, for your athletic endeavors to the great state of Oregon and your career, you are now officially inducted October the 11th, 2005 in the State of Oregon Sports Hall of Fame. The next inductee, the other greatest